Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories. At least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Greetings and salutations. Yeah, we did not release the program from Friday. I mean, we did like 2 hours. Much too long. Some days you do these programs and you're like, we did it live. We may put it into reels or something, but we want to be very... It's like this. If I figure out a better way of saying something, I'm going to go and I'm going to say it that way. Not to offend anyone or anything else, because I tell you what, when I was getting ready to release it on Saturday, people said, you know what, be very careful because, and we're going to share an article from I believe it's the Jerusalem Post here, which is, people use anytime. Now, I live in a predominantly, I don't want to say predominantly, maybe that's the wrong answer, a town that historically, for the last 40 years, has had a high percentage, and they go by different names, Arabiya, Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox, Jewish community. And what happens is, when something happens in that community, all of a sudden, the anti-Semites come out and they self-identify. Just the way it is. And just like racists, and then the anti-Semitism is a form of racism, I guess, but and there have been several other incidents in my town where there was anti-Semitism. There's not I don't know what to tell you. There's not any way to make this sound better or anything like that. Most of them you don't even hear about. I'm going to leave it to you that way. They don't make the national news. They don't even make it out of anything and out of anywhere local. And you hear the stuff that goes on. Right? So we're going to talk about the end of the war also. Right? And these treaties, what they're saying about them. Right now, about 4 hours ago, New York Post released a lot of information on I don't want to call it, I don't know if it's a truce. I don't know what the correct legal term is here because people are using it. Peace treaty, ceasefire, truce, all these other words, and they all have specific meanings. I'm not exactly sure what the correct term is here. We'll be going over that, but people, whenever Israel does something, whether you agree or disagree, the anti-Semites come out of the woodwork. They self-identify. Sort of like the racists out there. Sort of like when you put people in a stressful situation. Let's talk about Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Things are if you put pressure on people, or one of the rules, keep the pressure on, you put the pressure on the people, on your enemy, however you define that. Keep the pressure on, or you're going to manipulate them into doing certain things. I recently completed a whole bunch of management courses on how to, learning how to manage people a little bit better. At least I can manage people, but, always different approaches, different ideas, things of that nature. You know me by now. That's what I like, is learn how to do things better. How could I improve myself? How could I improve that safety war? How could I improve everything else? And I'm doing, so I want information. That's what safety is continuous improvement. And as my former track coach had said, that's what track and field is. Constant improvement. It's never good enough. And what my point is here, manipulation. Again, a constant manipulation. That's an ongoing theme. That's what I learned from a lot of these management courses out there. How to manipulate people into doing what you want is what one thing is. Another way is thinking, okay, on a positive note, how do you see things from other people's points of view to try to motivate them? I try to motivate people without manipulating people, because sooner or later there's going to be pushback and there's going to be a price to pay. I was reading an article today on this whole interview process with Gen Zers, where our generation, Gen X and before, you got strung along a little bit more. You undervalued yourself. The Gen Zers, opposite end, it could be made the argument where they overvalue themselves sometimes. Or it's along the lines of, you're going to profit X number of dollars from my work, therefore I'm going to want to get paid a certain amount of money. Just the way it is. I've had this conversation a couple of times. So the anti-Semites have come out of the woodwork here. So we're going to go right to war news. And if it's appropriate, I'm going to share that whole thing. Right. So we'll go start the war news. We'll have some news from our friends over at FSN. And then we're going to go and we're going to talk about the 71 Hasidic women, young women, girls in the sewers of Rockland County. Details, and this is from New York Post by Caitlin Doombos, Doombos, from this afternoon, late this afternoon. Details of U.S.-Iran deal revealed in 12-point plan. Timeline for U.S. withdrawal, $300 billion fund Hormuz passage. Newly revealed details about the secretive U.S.-Iran memorandum of understanding lay out that it would extend the ceasefire to Lebanon, so it's called a ceasefire in this article, allow Iran to manage the Strait of Hormuz, temporarily waive Iranian oil sanctions, and establish a pathway towards a comprehensive peace agreement, Israel's Channel 12 reported Tuesday. It makes no concrete promises regarding Iran's nuclear program outside of a pledge never produce or obtain a nuclear weapon, and the willingness to have further discussions about other details in a 60-day negotiation period that will begin after the document signing ceremony this Friday, on Juneteenth, that is. The framework, which would serve as the basis for broader negotiations between Washington and Tehran, outlines commitments on nuclear issues, sanctions relief, maritime security, and the eventual withdrawal of American forces from the region. The following 12 points were revealed. So here, Iran, the U.S., and her allies would stop fighting across the region, including Lebanon. So it would be Lebanon, Yemen, some of the other smaller groups that are out there. The U.S. and Iran would work out what happens to Tehran's enriched uranium stockpile. Both sides will open talks on Iran's future enrichment activities and nuclear needs. Iran would maintain the status quo of its nuclear program, which has been largely decimated while negotiations continue. The U.S. would lift its naval blockade, hold off on new sanctions, and refrain from sending more troops to the region. Iran would guarantee toll-free passage for commercial ships through Strait of Hormuz for 60 days. Washington would release an unspecified amount of frozen Iranian assets once the memorandum of understanding takes place. A final deal reached after 60 days would see the U.S. withdrawal its forces within 30 days and lift all sanctions on Iran. It would pave the way for a $300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran. I'd love to know who's going to pay for that. U.S. would allow Iran to resume oil sales through temporary sanctions waivers, and Iran, Oman, and Gulf states would negotiate new shipping and maritime security arrangements for the Gulf. Right? And, again, things have already been put in place and things of that nature. Hold on. Allergies are killing me here. I'm sorry about that. All right, so I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I mean, there's something to dislike for everybody, I guess. So here we go. Iranian dissidents is also from the New York Post. Trump told Iranian protesters help is on its way, but the peace deal leaves the mullahs more powerful than ever, dissidents say. Okay, now my comment on here, what else are they going to say? You think anybody wants to admit defeat here? You're doing the safety war out there in your workplace, so you're going to admit defeat? That's my question. Are you going to admit that you lost an argument? You're going to lose something? How smart is that? It might be appropriate sometimes, but did you really think that people are going to say, wow, this is a wonderful deal? I think there's a lot to be disliked about a lot of this stuff here, which shows me that it was negotiated pretty well here. Many Iranians who stood against the regime are left feeling frustrated and angry as details emerge from the peace deal between Washington and Tehran, worrying that the Islamist hardliner is now more powerful and entrenched than ever. President Trump signaled that the U.S. was going to war with Iran's regime partially over the deaths of thousands of anti-regime protesters. Help is on its way, he said on January 13th. Right? So the dissidents are saying that maybe it would... maybe, things are going to get worse because you legitimize this regime even more. Okay. Next article. Gotta love it. This is from Financial Times. Iran's government thinks it has won the war. This is from Najmeh Bozagamir in Tehran, published about 3 hours ago. As Iran's state television blasted out victory anthems after announcing the deal with the U.S., a new narrative began taking shape in Iran. The regime believes it has not only survived its greatest crisis in decades, but emerged stronger. Within the highest ranks of the Islamic Republic, no one would deny Iran is nursing devastating losses. U.S. and Israeli strikes destroyed critical infrastructure and took the lives of about 3,500 civilians and killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei and several senior military commanders. But regime insiders, Iranian analysts, and Western diplomats in Tehran agree on one thing: the war failed to bring the radical transformation sought by Iran's enemies. In fact, the regime, which at the start of the year appeared to be at its most vulnerable, seems to be more confident than before the war began in February. Now, we remember, since the Vietnam War, then you're going to say, what about the Vietnam War? It was reported by many way after the war ended, I believe that was the Paris Peace Accords, that North Vietnam was almost defeated, completely defeated by their definition of defeat, whatever that was. And we were tricked into leaving, right, with that. And there's some evidence that that was true. Now, is Iran going to do the same thing as North Vietnam here? That's my question. I don't think anybody's answered that question. This is from Semaphore. Okay, Tim's View. By Tim McDonald. He's the climate and energy editor from Semaphore.com. This is from Tim's View. The U.S.-Iran de-escalation deal may bring oil tanker traffic back to something resembling the pre-war norm, but the global energy trade will never be the same. Oil prices will likely fall. Goldman Sachs lowered its fourth quarter Brent forecast from $90 to $80 per barrel on Monday, but with so much uncertainty ahead, no one believes oil prices are fully out of the woods yet. Assuming a real ceasefire actually holds, it will take time, possibly months, to clear out trapped tankers and bring in new empty ones, and to rebuild and restart damaged production and export facilities. There will also be demand for oil to refill heavily depleted U.S. reserves. We're going to talk about this one of these days. I tell you what, all of the strategic petroleum reserves that I'm familiar with in and around New York and New Jersey area are not there anymore. How many barrels were taken out of commission because the facility in Perth Amboy / Kaysville, New Jersey, not there anymore. It's a warehouse. By the way, we wrote the plan for the warehouse build, part of the plan. The other one was the clean fuel facility with biofuels in Jersey City was taken out a couple years ago. And Bayonne, New Jersey, IMTT, or Colonial, I'm not sure which one, removed, I believe it was 3 tanks on Route 440 over there and put in apartments after the cleanup or remediation. Bayway Refinery, you go inside there, how many empty tank fields are there? They took out 3 tanks, I believe, over by what used to be called Linden Airport. I don't know what it's called now. Outside of that. So these are just a couple of facilities in New Jersey where the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and other reserves, private petroleum reserves, not there anymore. One of my clients is one of the companies that maintains those tanks. So I know a little bit of something about it, and I hear that from the people there, and they work nationwide. So my question is this. Is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve going to be built up again? Number one. Number two, can it be built up again? Because if they really want to increase the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, what they need to do is build more tanks. Build more oil tanks. And, Jim, we don't want to go that direction. We want to be like, go to all these other alternative energy sources. Well, they're not there yet, number one. Number two is, I think solar surpassed coal in some areas, but we're talking oil here. Jim, we're trying to do, well, guess what? The Biden administration, as reported on this thing, the Democrats had plans for expanding oil until 2050 for cheap energy. Yes. Oh, yeah. We forgot. How soon we forget? This is from Wall Street Journal Opinion, the editorial board from yesterday. The regime gets financial relief to reopen Hormuz and hold more nuclear talks. So the world is more likely to see this as a strategic retreat, short of achieving Trump's war aims. To reopen the Strait of Hormuz, Mr. Trump is accepting Iran's promises merely to negotiate over its nuclear program. This one from telegraph.co.uk from Jeremy Warner. Fear of inflation forced Trump into an Iran deal. Yeah, economic pressure, that's all part of war. Oh, yeah. And this is from Mediaite, author Isaac Shore. Leaked alleged text to Trump-Iran deal. Al Arabiya English, an arm of the Saudi state-owned Al Arabiya network, published what it called a copy of the 14-point agreement expected to be signed Friday. This is probably where the New York Post got it. And let me read through it. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And it adds 2 things that the what Post did not talk about here, at least from what I can recall from 5 minutes ago. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States agree that an implementation mechanism will be established to oversee the successful implementation and future commitment to the final agreement following the signing of this MOU, and upon receipt of assurances regarding the commencement of implementation Articles 4, 5, 10, 11 of this Memorandum of Understanding, the continuing implementation of the steps of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States will enter into negotiations for a final agreement solely with respect to the remaining articles. So, basically, the ceasefire, the things that I already mentioned, they're going to be on there, and apparently there's more things to discuss within the next 60 days. Let's see if it holds. Here's another more war news. This is from independent.co.uk. Pentagon used Elon Musk's Grok AI to fire 2,000 missiles at Iran, official says. Top defense official says data centers powering trillionaires' chat box are critical to national security. Isn't this convenient with all this debate on data centers? A lot of debate here around the New York area. In a sworn statement defending the trillionaire from a lawsuit alleging XAI data centers are illegally polluting black communities, the Pentagon's artificial intelligence chief said, so that's like an environmental justice thing that they're saying? May be true, may be not. I don't know. I'm just saying it, right? The Pentagon's artificial intelligence chief said the chat box continued operation is a matter of paramount national security and was used to fire more than 2,000 munitions at 2,000 distinct targets within 96 hours. Grok, a generative artificial intelligence chatbot developed by XAI, is among 4 AI models currently capable of supporting national security applications, according to Cameron Stanley, the Pentagon's chief digital and artificial intelligence officer. And the article goes on and on and on. All right. Anything else on the war? No. So we're going to head on over to our friends over at FSN Radio News. Let me always load this, right? Here.
From Feature Story
News
at the last Washington, minute, I'm Kate Fisher.
Because I want the latest news for you folks here at home.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. G7 leaders meeting in the French alpine town of Evian are pressing US President Donald Trump to reveal the full terms of his deal with Iran, which is set to be formally signed on Friday. President Trump has told fellow leaders that the Strait of Hormuz will be open fully at the end of the week. But European allies say they have been given few details about what concessions were made by either side. The leaders of Egypt, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates are joining the summit on Tuesday for a session on stability in the Middle East.
Safety Wars
has
News.
More from Evian.
This
we will have to see in practice
Safety Wars
what this
News.
deal means once we get past Friday. But that's
Safety
certainly
Wars
something that
News.
the leaders of the UAE,
This
Egypt and Qatar
Safety Wars
will be
News.
speaking to President Trump
This
about, because they
is
are invited
Safety
guests
Wars
here
News.
in France to take part
This
in discussions
is
then, and so they'll
Safety
have the
Wars
chance
News.
also to speak to European
This
allies
is
about the impact
Safety
on
Wars
the Middle East
News.
of this new
This
US-Iran
is
peace deal.
Safety Wars
Meanwhile,
News.
US President Donald Trump is
This
saying the Iran deal
is
is moving
Safety
to a
Wars
second
News.
stage quickly.
This
The Iranian Foreign
is
Minister Abbas
Safety
Araghchi
Wars News.
confirming a new round of talks
This
between Washington
is
and
Safety
Tehran
Wars
will
News.
begin on Friday in
This
Switzerland
is
ahead of a
Safety
formal
Wars
signing
News.
of the Memorandum of Understanding.
This
Blake
is
Sifton,
Safety
reporting
Wars
from Tel
News.
Aviv, says Israeli Prime
This
Minister Benjamin
is
Netanyahu
Safety
has gone
Wars
to great
News.
lengths to distance himself
This
from the deal,
is
even
Safety
admitting
Wars
his government
News.
does not know the exact
This
details.
is
This agreement
Safety
between the
Wars
U.S. and
News.
Iran has been widely condemned
This
by politicians
is
across
Safety
the political
Wars
spectrum
News.
here in Israel.
This
Last night, Prime
is
Minister Netanyahu
Safety
gave an
Wars
address
News.
in which he didn't directly
This
criticize the agreement,
is
but he did
Safety
make great
Wars
efforts
News.
to distance himself from it.
This
he stressed that
is
this was an
Safety
agreement,
Wars News.
reached by
This
President
is
Trump.
Safety Wars
and
News.
Israel was, of course, not in these negotiations. They were
Safety
completely
Wars
sidelined
News.
these negotiations, and the media
This
here is really
is
jumping on the
Safety
fact
Wars
that Prime
News.
Minister Netanyahu admitted yesterday
This
that the Israeli
is
government doesn't
Safety
even
Wars
know
News.
the exact details of this
This
agreement.
is
California
Safety
Governor
Wars
Gavin
News.
Newsom says he and his
This
wife are being
is
targeted by
Safety
the US
Wars
Department
News.
of Justice. Mr.
This
Newsom believes the
is
Trump administration
Safety
is
Wars
behind the
News.
probe because he's considering
This
a run for
is
president.
Safety
Our
Wars
US
News.
correspondent Mitch McCann
This
reports.
is
In a video
Safety
statement,
Wars
California's
News.
governor said Donald Trump
This
isn't just
is
coming after me because
Safety
of my mean
Wars News.
tweets. He's coming after
This
me because I am
is
considering running
Safety
for
Wars
president.
News.
He added to get me,
This
he's coming after
is
my wife. While the
Safety
scope
Wars
of any
News.
investigation is unclear,
This
it's reported
is
that federal agents
Safety
have been
Wars
questioning
News.
friends and associates of
This
Mr. Newsom in
is
recent weeks.
Safety
Mr.
Wars
Newsom's
News.
wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom,
This
said in a statement,
is
this is
Safety
not
Wars
presidential
News.
behavior. The White House has not
This
commented.
is
With FSN
Safety
Spotlight,
Wars
I'm
News.
Simon Marks. Today, two
This
takes on the proposed
is
ceasefire
Safety
deal
Wars
between
News.
the US and Iran that is
This
expected to be
is
signed on Friday.
Safety Wars
Gideon
News.
Ruckman, chief foreign affairs
This
columnist at the
is
Financial Times,
Safety
says
Wars
he's not
News.
sure the Israelis will
This
go along with it.
is
Probably the
Safety
biggest
Wars
single
News.
danger is that at some point
This
fighting restarts
is
in Lebanon.
Safety
the Israelis
Wars
are
News.
obviously unhappy, and there are like
This
journalists who
is
are close to Netanyahu
Safety Wars News.
tweeting this is a disaster
This
and so on.
is
But the Israelis
Safety
have very
Wars
difficult
News.
choices to make because they
This
can't really afford
is
an open
Safety
confrontation with
Wars
Trump.
News.
My guess is that reluctantly they will
This
go along with it
is
for now.
Safety
but
Wars
in
News.
long term, they're
This
angry that
is
Iran has
Safety Wars
successfully
News.
linked the war in Lebanon
This
to the opening of the
is
Strait of Hormuz.
Safety
and sort of
Wars
tied
News.
Israel's hand.
And Ahmed
This
Kuzai, Middle East
is
analyst based
Safety
in
Wars
Bahrain,
News.
worries that Iran will
This
be hugely
is
strengthened by
Safety
the agreement.
Wars News.
So far, the memorandum
This
is a 60 days
is
framework
Safety Wars
revolving
News.
around the Strait of Hormuz,
This
Lebanon,
is
nuclear deal,
Safety
and
Wars
economic
News.
relief, where the Iranian
This
sanction funds will
is
be reimbursed.
Safety
And I
Wars
think
News.
we still all remember the
This
last time sanction
is
funds were released.
Safety Wars
7th
News.
of October happened. So
This
can we imagine
is
with more money
Safety
what
Wars News.
Iran will do, and empowered
This
Iran
is
won't be
Safety
an
Wars
easy
News.
enemy to tackle.
Lost
This
in all of this,
is
Iranians
Safety
who
Wars
oppose
News.
the country's government
This
will now be
is
expected to continue
Safety
living
Wars
under
News.
its brutal rule.
This
With FSN
is
Spotlight, I'm
Safety
Simon
Wars
Marks.
News.
Our main news again.
This
G7
is
leaders meeting
Safety
in the
Wars
French
News.
alpine town of Evian
This
are pressing
is
US President
Safety
Donald Trump
Wars
to
News.
reveal the full terms of his
This
deal with Iran,
is
which is
Safety
set to be
Wars
formally
News.
signed on Friday.
This
Israeli
is
Prime Minister Benjamin
Safety Wars
Netanyahu
News.
has gone to great lengths to
This
distance
is
himself from the
Safety
deal,
Wars
even
News.
admitting his government doesn't
This
know its
is
details.
Safety
And
Wars
California
News.
Governor Gavin Newsom
This
says he and his
is
wife are being
Safety Wars
targeted by
News.
the US Department of Justice.
This
And that's
is
the latest feature
Safety
story
Wars News.
Kate Fisher reporting.
This is Safety Wars News. This is
So anyway,
Safety
we are
Wars
back.
News.
We are back. We are back.
This is
Still
Safety
working on
Wars
some of
News.
these bits.
This
and
is
stuff.
Safety Wars News.
So,
This is Safety Wars News. This
Anyway,
is
now
Safety
they mentioned
Wars
Evian,
News.
right? I always say
This
Evian,
is
naive.
Safety Wars News.
Evian
This
naive,
is
spelled
Safety
backwards.
Wars News. This
And then,
is
you know, you got
Safety
everyone
Wars
saying,
News.
"Oh, it's this and that, and it's spelling
This
that. Ha, 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 ha.
is Safety Wars News.
Think we
This
worry about that
is
stuff?
Safety Wars News.
Okay.
This is Safety Wars
So here we
News.
go. Let me talk
This
here.
is Safety Wars News. This is Safety Wars News.
Where is it?
This is Safety Wars News.
All right.
This is
This is from
Safety
CBS
Wars
News last week, and this
This
happened in my
is
town, and I
Safety
discussed it
Wars
last week.
News.
But you know what?
This
Some things could be
is
misinterpreted,
Safety Wars News.
and some things could be
This
misinterpreted,
is
and
Safety
I'm trying
Wars
to
News.
avoid that. Here, dozens of young girls unexpectedly emerged from a drain in the patio of a Rockland County restaurant Wednesday. It was a small drain, by the way, after taking an unauthorized trek underground. Nyack Mayor Joe Rand said the girls are on a school trip visiting Nyack Memorial Park. They entered a massive drainage tunnel, which collects much of the village's stormwater runoff. They saw the culvert, they saw the cave, and they thought, let's go take a look at what's in there. And like I said on Friday, we did, and I spoke to some of my coworkers. 12-year-old, 13-year-old boys back in the 80s, We did this. We did this kind of stuff. We did it in my town until we were chased out by a couple of homeless people. Reason why that is that for homeless people, that's often a safer place than a lot of other places, at least in their opinion. They saw the culvert. They saw the cave, and they thought, let's go take a look inside, said the mayor. And they started walking, and they just kept walking and walking and walking. The mayor says the group traveled roughly a half a mile through the dark culvert on rocks and uneven terrain before safely finding an exit at the Hudson House restaurant, surprising the restaurant owner, Matt Hudson. Now, I met Matt Hudson. I went to the Hudson House restaurant with my wife for dinner, one anniversary, and that's like a Zagat rated Michelin 5-star restaurant. Phenomenal food there. I'll say that much. My wife, when I told her, hey, we're going to go, let's go. And I didn't tell her where I was taking her. And she's like, until we were about a block away, she said, well, where are we going, Jimmy? And I said, Hudson House. And she said, what? Hudson House. That was on like her bucket list of places to go. He was astonished to find the young girls climbing out of a drain over a creek in the courtyard behind his restaurant. This used to be an old firehouse, by the way. Sure enough, we came back into the patio, looked there, and it was filling up with kids. They were fine, but they were excitedly talking. They were happy to get out of there. Everybody was saved, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the first responder, Rand said, but it was dangerous. They shouldn't have been doing it because we could have gotten rain this afternoon. If it rains, this thing gets much more powerful, and the water could have really picked up on them. The mayor said that happened last year in Florida to a young girl. The mayor said he will be reviewing safety measures at the culvert site and is reminding residents and visitors that drainage culverts are not for recreational use. For Hudson, it's a day he won't forget. We've been here for almost 36 years. We thought we saw it all, but no. There are still some surprises here. Now, there's an obvious thing here going on here. Right, so we get it. It's unsafe for people to go in there for flash flood reasons. Atmospheric hazards, we know about that. If you're a safety professional listening to this show, you know atmospheric hazards, lighting, you have all different types of situations here. Yes, we get it. Children will do what they do, but now if there was 3 or 4 kids, I can say, well, kids are going to be kids. They're going to go in. It's an attractive nuisance is what we used to call this. But 71? Are you kidding me? 71? And there's reportedly, I don't know, conflicting information. There were, at least some reports, the chaperones were involved in this. And the chaperones, I know, are often not too much older than these folks here, than the people that are watching here. Especially in this community, that often happens based on what I have read. And by the way, they're not the only community that does that. Now, we're going to flip on over. We wanted to talk about anti-Semitism. I mean, you check out all the Rockland County Facebook pages out there and Nextdoor app where you have all this anti-Semitism. And I tell you what, we have a boatload with this war going on here in Iran and Israel and Lebanon and some of those other areas. I mean, this is, there's a lot of incidents going on there with kids in our neighborhood. Not our neighborhood, but in our community. We don't have too many kids in our neighborhood. Once we do, we don't have a problem. They're wonderful children, right? Christian and Jews, and I think we have a couple of Muslims thrown in there. Nice people. Everybody gets along. All the kids play together. But what happens is they get a little bit older, and everything else, and there have been reports of anti-Semitism in the school district. Yeah, Clarkstown School District for you, right? And where are they getting this? I can tell you where they're getting it. They're getting it from their parents and from their families. it's, I mean, come on, guys. What is this, 1930s Germany again? Here we have, and this is an important story, so I'm going to share this on the screen for you folks. I'm going to read it out because it's from the Times of Israel. That's the name of it. The author is Grace Gilson from last week. And I will verify what's in this article. Jewish school girls get lost in New York Creek Tunnel. Anti-Semitism ensues online. Loaded with anti-Semitism, folks. When dozens of Jewish girls emerged from a storm drain in Nyack, New York on Wednesday after becoming lost on a school trip, local officials described the episode as a fortunate ending of a potentially dangerous situation. On social media, however, the incident quickly drew a slew of anti-Semitic comments. They can't help it. Roaches and rats love the sewers, wrote one Facebook user on a post. Wow. The people that would have the cojones to write that in their own name on a Facebook page never ceases to amaze me here. Those tunnels were promised to them 3,000 years ago, another user wrote, referencing the common online anti-Semitic phrase ridiculing the Jewish connection to Israel. Many of the comments also reference the 2024 incident at the The 24 incident at the Shabbat Lubavitch, I should know how to pronounce that, movement's world headquarters in Crown Heights in Brooklyn, in which a group from the movement attempted to dig an unauthorized tunnel beneath the building. From the tunnels in Brooklyn to the tunnels in Nyack, it goes on and on and on. The girls, students from Torres Amaco School in Muncie, New York, have been visiting Nyack Memorial Park on a school trip when they entered a large drainage culvert located in the park, according to the Orangetown Police Department. While walking through the tunnel system, the students got lost but were heard by individuals in the town who alerted police. First responders immediately came to the scene and located all the girls at various points in Nyack. Technically, none of the girls was rescued because they all came out under their own power, but everyone's lucky that the authorities responded. Some reports say there was one person that got hurt, that needed actual medical attention here. There were no injuries besides some cuts and scrapes. Nyack Village Administrator Andy Sur told the Jewish Telegraphic Agency that the school group had not been given a permit to host a field trip in the park on Wednesday. While there was definite concern over the violation of that law, he wasn't sure how the local government would follow up with the school. This group did not have a permit, so he didn't know they were there and made no plans with the village. The school did not respond to numerous requests for comment. Right? Unfortunately, this is a quote from Nate Wilson from the Nexus Project. I've never heard of this, so I don't know what they're about. So he said, quote, unfortunately, internet comment sections have become havens for anti-Semitic memes and conspiracies, and commentators, emboldened by relative anonymity, will jump at any opportunity to demonize Jews. In this case, a story of dozens of children getting lost on a field trip is appallingly used to spread stereotypes about Jews, including comparing them to rats. Wolfson added that the references to the Chabad Tunnel incident had been especially troubling. Yeah, they're troubling to me because there are people in my freaking community that are, let me start over that again here, right? It's troubling to me because there's people in my community that act this way. Really? Really? Right? Adding that story, routinely used by anti-Semites to spread truly vicious and dangerous conspiracies about stuff. And I'm going to leave it at that. Some Nyack residents also called out the spate of anti-Semitic comments about the incident. This was not hard to find. It was buried. It was not one bad comment from one bad actor. It was thread after thread of people in this county saying the same old Woovno about Jewish people like it was nothing, wrote one resident on a post on Facebook alongside a series of screenshots of anti-Semitic comments. Right? If it takes one local news story for your contempt to come spilling out, the contempt was already there. End quote. Guys, folks, ladies, we're not going to survive another 250 years as a nation, and this stuff continues to go on. These are your fellow human beings and your fellow citizens of the United States. As a Christian, all of these people are made in the image of God and have a divine spark in them. Doesn't matter what your background is. You cannot go around saying this stuff and call yourself a Christian. Call yourself anything. Can't do it. Enough. Enough. Well, Jim, you don't know how it is. Oh, yeah, I do know how it is. I do know how it is. Believe me, and we'll leave it at that. All right? Here's another one. Here. This is from story by Jason Lang from MSN.com. I believe this might be from Reuters, but I don't know, but it's on MSN.com. As U.S. nears 250th birthday, Reuters/Ipsos poll shows many Americans doubt it will last another 250 years. Yeah, this is from Reuters. As the U.S. approaches its 250th birthday next month, 2 out of 5 Americans do not believe it will endure another 250 years beyond that, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll that highlighted deep divisions over how the nation views itself. The 4-day poll, which concluded this past Monday, comes amid the polarizing pageantry that President Donald Trump has brought to celebrations for July 4th, which will mark 250 years since the people became known as the Founding Fathers of the U.S. declared their independence from Brooklyn. From Brooklyn. From Britain. Yeah, there's a lot of people who want and declare their independence from Brooklyn. That's for damn sure, right? Believe me. Which will mark 250 years since the people who became known as the Founding Fathers of the U.S. declared their independence from Britain. Trump has put himself at the center of many of the events mark the anniversary, including staging a White House cage match on his birthday on Sunday. On Monday, he said he would be the main attraction at July 4th celebration in Washington that will also serve as a political rally for the Republican as his party looks to keep control of Congress in November's midterm elections. Trump has framed his presidency as a bid to save America from being destroyed from the Democrats. Democratic leaders contend it's Trump who is endangering democracy and allege he is using federal law enforcement to target political critics. Okay. Really? Some 38 respondents in the poll, including 40% of Democrats and 26% of Republicans, said they didn't think the U.S. will exist as a single country 250 years from now. Just 62%. I tell you what, if we have all this debt going on here, I can guarantee we will be, I can almost guarantee we'll exist. Because somebody's going to pay that debt to the bankers. Right? Someone has to pay it. You think they're going to let the United States break up? Do you really think so? All those bankers are going to be out of freaking money. Not going to happen, dude. Trump has accused Democrats, and especially the prior presidential administration of Democrat Joe Biden, of illegally targeting his allies, including those involved in the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol, which was an attempt to overthrow Trump's loss in the 2020 presidential election. Republicans also point to multiple assassination attempts against Trump. 2/3 of respondents, including 85% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans, said they agreed with a statement that American democracy was in danger of failing. The overall seeing democracy at risk was up from 57% in a poll conducted in August of last year, with the increase driven by more Republicans worried about democracy saying, wow, all of this is proof of all this increase and everything, right? And because they're polling people to change, is that the propaganda to manipulate people is working. So this came out today and late yesterday. FBI disrupts alleged explosive drone plot targeting White House in a UFC event. So maybe all this rhetoric that we're hearing is fueling this kind of stuff, and reportedly, these people were turned in by their family members. First on Fox, and again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. The FBI and its law enforcement partners disrupted an alleged plot targeting this weekend's UFC Freedom 250 event in Washington, D.C., officials told Fox News Digital. 5 people were in custody as of Monday, and investigators had identified 23 people as a potential network of plotters. The alleged plan involved using explosive-laden drones to hit buildings near the event. How about using storm sewers? How's that? That's a big threat here in Nyack. Reportedly a half a mile. Here we have drones with explosives. So what the idea they believe, that what they're saying is, they being the law enforcement, is that it would force a mass evacuation to steer crowds toward a pre-staged sniper team. A second way was then allegedly planned to storm the White House gate, according to officials. The FBI first learned of the threat on June 10th to work with partners to secure probable cause for an arrest in Cincinnati, where one suspect was taken into custody. I'm not going to mention the person's name. It says he's 19. He don't look like he's 19 to me. According to a criminal complaint, the person allegedly spent $3,000 of his graduation money to purchase the stuff needed for the attack. Authorities estimated several boxes of ammunition that were allegedly acquired contained a lot of rounds. It's also alleged that the person acquired an AR-style rifle, a bullpup rifle painted with the American flag, and 2 plate carriers with AR-style magazines. His family voluntarily turned over the equipment to law enforcement, as they should have. His father told officers that the person had quit his job to meet up with people he had met online to conduct missions and recons, according to the complaint. It was said that the person's mother had first alerted authorities over concerns about his recent alleged firearm purchases and communications with individuals online. 2 other people were arrested in California for alleged involvement in the plot. Both of them were charged with conspiracy to commit murder. They appeared in court on Monday. Court document says one of these people's wives told investigators he described himself as a recruiter for the group and had amassed a lot of equipment. She also said he built a range on his property about 3 weeks before his arrest, and she was aware of his signal communications through messages that appeared on a shared tablet. And multiple sources told Fox News that the those in custody are American citizens and a foreign nexus was not involved. They're able to determine that quick? So my question is this, right? And, there was a lot of stuff going on here with this, with that, right? All this rhetoric, without this rhetoric, would this have happened? I think that's a legitimate question. A legitimate debate that has to go on here. All right. We're going to call it a night there. We're going to have some, we're at 57 minutes. Let's put on some pre-recorded music and everything else, and we'll go from there. For Safety Wars and Safety FM Network, this is Jim Poesl. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.